Welcome to TED, a place for hope, truth and healing. And today I have a special guest with me, and her name is Whisper Marie. I'm very, very excited that she took the opportunity and she took to give me the time to sit down and talk with me again about the same topic. CSA, SA. We're trying to raise awareness as to how prevalent this is, and hopefully, especially parents watching this episode and any other episodes that I've with different people that I've spoken with, you see the merit and just taking the time and invest more in your kid, be more vigilant, be more on guard as to what could happen if you're not paying attention, because the numbers are really scary as to how often CSA or SA happen in our culture, in our society, and worldwide. So without further ado, Whisper, thank you for coming and to chat with me. So if you wouldn't mind just telling the audience who you are and just give them a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for inviting this conversation. I think it is a really important conversation that we need to be having more. So my story actually starts out, my abuser was my dad. Now, he was my stepdad. He came into my life when I was 9 months old. He is the only dad that I've had a relationship with. So, for the, I guess, purposes of my story, I just want people to know while not biologically my dad, he was my dad in every other sense of the word.
Of course.
Um, and I'm the oldest of four girls. So, my three younger sisters are his biological daughters. And I think that's an important part of my story because that was kind of like his foot in the door for manipulation. And it was kind of that sense of me feeling left out, me being different, because I did know. I knew that biologically he was not my dad, but it made me feel a little bit left out. And everybody tried to make sure that I didn't feel that way, but it was kind of his step into the door, I think.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
And so my abuse started when I was 8 years old. And up until that point, I had never had a bad experience with my dad. My dad is a truck driver, and every break, every holiday from school, I was out on the truck with him.
Mm.
That was my life. And when I was 8 years old, something small happened. And it seemed so insignificant. And my parents, especially my mother, had had conversations about inappropriate touch and what to tell her and all of those things.
Hmm.
I had those conversations from a very young age because generationally that was an issue in my maternal side of my family.
Okay.
Um, and so when it happened, it was so small and so confusing, and he made it seem like it was nothing. And that was another instance where he got his foot into the door to kind of
Hmm.
groom and manipulate behavior after that.
Wow. Right off the bat, I'm extremely sorry to hear about all of it, and it's always my reaction to be sorry. And while still understanding so well, all situations are different. I get that. Um, but at the same time, I'm speaking about all of this is because of also my past and what I went through. And specifically for guys, as this is not an easy thing to just talk about for many reasons, some of which I've already talked about on this channel. Um, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear about what you had to go through. Um, but again, I'm very happy that you're here. That you're not you're using something bad and you're trying to using something bad that happened, and now you're trying to use it to do good. So that's very admirable. So now you said the situation happened with your dad. So did your mom ever find out?
Nobody knew. So there were the standard things that abusers say, such as like, no one will believe you. But
Yeah.
my dad didn't even really push that because he knew and I knew the second that I told anyone, especially like my mother or my grandmother, they
Yeah.
would believe me. His grooming and his manipulation was more aimed at, you're responsible for your sisters. You're responsible for taking care of everybody and keeping everybody safe. And his tactics of keeping me quiet were, well, I will go to jail and then you guys will have no one to take care of you. I'm the one that pays the bills. I'm the one that does all of these things.
Yeah.
Um, and so my mother did not know. Nobody in my family knew until it came out, and it wasn't even by my choice. It came out as the result of me getting in some trouble. And so I
Mhm.
think that is also another reason why when people ask me like how's it so easy for you to talk about your story, it's not necessarily that it's easy, but I never got to make that conscious choice as a child to be like, I'm done. I want to say something. I want to take my power back. So for me, I guess this is kind of that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to piggyback on the question that I guess people would ask you as far as, um, how is it easy for you to talk about it? Nothing about this is easy for anyone to talk about, and I'm sure even right now talking about it, it's not easy for you. It's not easy for me, I know that for a fact because you are kinda digging and grabbing something that you had fought so hard to just bury. And now you are talking about it almost on a daily basis for one reason, again, to raise awareness, to help people who are going through it, or to hopefully avoid somebody else from going through the pain that you went through. So there's nothing easy about it. That's why I use the word admirable. And I think it's admirable for just anybody who took the time to talk about it, whether it's just one person or you talking about it on the YouTube channel where a lot of people will have the chance to see it. You're trying to make it even bigger difference, right? So it's not easy at all. Um, so, so your mom never knew until everything came out. Whatever happened to him, your dad?
Um, so exactly as I said, the second that my mother found out, we went straight to the police.
Mm,
And what's I don't know if I would say great, but I have all of my court documents. I have everything. So I am able to look through everything and see exactly what happened. But my dad, so we went to the police. I had to do an interview with social services. And then the police decided that the best route would be to do telephone calls, recorded calls to try and get my dad to confess over the phone.
mm,
So I had to call him and try and get him to admit to what he had done. And that was one of the hardest things I think that I went through during this entire process
sure.
because I was 14 years old and I knew exactly what was happening. I knew if I got him to confess, he was going to prison. There was
Yeah.
nothing. That was it. And so I was able to get some of the things that they needed, but not everything. And my mother had to call and do the call the next day. So he had to have two different calls with us. And then the police did call him to try and talk about it. His mother hired an attorney to represent him, and we ended up having to go to court. The DA came to both me and my mother and asked us like our preferences on sentencing and what we wanted to do and different things like that. Ultimately, my dad ended up getting 5 years and he served those in Avenal State Prison in California. And I believe he got out at 80% time with good behavior. So he served like 3.5 years or something close to that. My mental math is really bad. My math at
That's
any
fine.
point is really bad.
That's fine. That's fine. So, so he's out now, correct?
He is out.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you live near him?
Off and on, I kind of have because I lived in California, and when he got out, he had to stay in California for a certain amount of time. I moved to Arizona, he moved to Arizona, and now he moved to Texas. So we do not live in the same states. Um, but I have, since he's been out of prison, I have seen him. I have gone to family functions where he has been, and I have gone to lunch with him, which I think is a very good conversation to have about why do we as victims, especially in familial relationships with abusers, why do we want to still have that relationship?
Hmm. Let's talk about that. Let's unpack that because that is one that I can imagine being very, very tough. So, um, what does that look like? Knowing that he was your abuser, knowing what he's done to you now, having a relationship with him. What does that look like? Unpack that for me.
So this is the part when I say it's hard to talk about, this is the stuff that it's hard to talk about
Mhm.
because this is a reflection of my adult choices and things that I've done as an adult that are not, I'm not going to say not related to trauma, but not in
Sure.
the moment of trauma.
Okay.
I would not recommend trying to have a relationship with your abuser because when they say you can't heal where you were hurt, while I don't necessarily agree with that, I think you should not try to heal where you were hurt. And part of it for me was there was a child part of me. So I'm a therapist. So mental health wise, parts are kind of like when you go through trauma, those parts kind of stay at the age where they were traumatized.
Mhm.
I have a child part that tried so hard to keep my family together. That was her only goal, was like, it does not matter what I go through as long as my sisters don't have to go through this, as long as my family doesn't get destroyed, as long as we still have a house. That was what I told myself. And I worked so hard. I worked so hard to hide things. I spent an entire summer with my dad on the truck. And that's a confined, very small space with every night those types of things happening.
Mm.
I had to do a lot. I had to shut a lot of myself down and I had to be very focused on my goal, which was keeping my family together.
Right.
As an adult, I did not realize how much of a problem and unhealed that was until other people started having relationships with him. And to me, that felt unfair. He hurt me. Why do I not get to have a relationship with him? Why does he get to be such a great uncle to his nieces and nephews, but he's not a dad? Another part of me was kind of the opinion, he broke it, he's gonna help fix it. And
Mhm.
so here's what that relationship with my dad looked like as an adult. It looked like me getting very angry at him when I didn't like what he had to say and cutting him off, and then trying to have a relationship with him again and setting boundaries with him. And then if he respected those boundaries, continuing to have the relationship. But it was never a father daughter relationship. It was, I need something from you. I need to find my sense of safety. And it was
Mhm.
almost like I convinced myself I'm going to get my safety back if I take it back from him. And so I'm like taking my boundaries back. I'm taking my voice back. And in a lot of ways, yes, I do feel like that helped me. But in a
Mm.
lot of ways, it re traumatized me. It caused new issues that I then had to deal with, not just mental, emotional, but trauma holds a big place in your body, your physical reactions
Oh
to
yeah.
things.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
And
Wow.
so
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
tried, I tried and tried, and then I got to a point where I felt like, okay, I can see this man and feel completely like safe because I know I can take care of myself and protect myself. I know if he says something I don't like or does something I don't like, I'm going to say it to him. I'm going to tell him off. I'm going to do something, which had never been my experience before because my dad was a 6'3", 350-pound man, truck driver.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
I didn't say anything that that man didn't like until I became an adult. And then once I felt like I had gathered all my stuff back from him, my therapist, I was in internal family systems therapy, and my therapist asked me, why are you trying so hard to hold on to this relationship? What is it proving to you? And so I got home and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, what is this proving to me?
Mhm.
And I realized I think I'm trying to prove to myself that I'm strong enough that I can handle it.
Right.
And then that little girl part of myself came back up and said, I'm sad. And that was the first time that I think I had ever let her be sad and feel her experiences.
Yeah.
And that is honestly the hardest part of my entire healing journey because when I let myself stop being angry and I let myself feel her pain, it
Mhm.
was the most soul crushing and devastating pain that is so childlike. And it is the loss of a parent. It is the loss of, I sacrificed every bit of myself to keep this, and I can't. I can't keep it. It's not good for me. It's never going to be what I want it to be. It was never what I thought it was, and I have
Yeah.
to let it go.
Yeah. That's a sad reality. That's a sad reality. Um, Again, this is the first time, I have to be honest, this is the first time I've ever heard of a victim having, or at least trying to have a relationship with the abuser. So that's very new to me. And I was very curious to understand what that looks like and why. So thank you for explaining the details uh, as it pertains to that. So, but yeah, no, that's incredible. Um, so you said now you are a therapist, correct? So you help people with trauma. Is it more with the same down the same line, like SA and CSA stuff, or any type of
Um,
therapist?
I do a wide range, so I deal with
Okay.
everything. And I do want to say, once I processed that way and I let that little part of myself experience that, I have
Hmm.
not had a relationship with my dad. I did not reach out to him to cut him off. I simply blocked him, and that is the last time that I have talked to him. And that was about 2.5 years ago. And I am so happy and so comfortable with that decision because he
Sure.
is processed as if he is dead. And I don't mean
Hmm.
that in a malicious, mean way. It is,
Yeah, of
that
course.
person is no longer there. He is
Yeah.
gone.
He doesn't need to exist in your life after what he's done. So a big thing for me is forgiveness. So I talk to people and I always make sure I talk about forgiveness, forgiving the abuser. And that's not just coming from a spiritual aspect from me. Spiritually, from for what I believe in, forgiveness is a big thing. I'm a Christian. And but sometimes people feel like to forgive somebody is to um like y- it's almost like people are waiting for people for the abuser or for the offender to take the first step. For me, I see it differently. I see it, forgiveness is almost more important to you than it is to the offender or the abuser. And the reason being is that when you forgive them, they no longer have this invisible hold on you. And you need to do that because I don't know if you've heard of the term or the saying, you are drinking your enemy's poison, but you're hoping to kill him. So basically, I use that as somebody did something really bad to me, and I'm just gonna keep holding that grudge. I'm just gonna keep hating them. I'm just gonna keep like every time their names would come up, it's just an instant anger. It doesn't matter what, like how happy I was, who I was around, but like the fact, like the mere fact of their name, it just brings so much trauma back. Now you can wait all you want. What if you never get an apology from that person? What if that person doesn't think that they did anything to you that warrants an apology? So you're gonna live all your life just hating and just holding this grudge that's just there, this hatred. And I always tell people, don't let anybody has that kind of power on, over you. You got to understand how important forgiveness is, most importantly to you, to relieve yourself, to release yourself of this bondage. You got to get that forgiveness for you. And if they want to acknowledge that, that's a plus, that's an add-on. But if they don't, they like just don't give them that power over you. So that's why. So I always like to talk about that. And I believe it's a big thing with regard to, anybody who's been through any type of abuse or anything like that.
I think so too. And being a therapist, and dealing with trauma and depression, anxiety, all of the different things. I also have ADHD, by the way, so I might jump around a little bit. I'm very sorry to
That's
your
fine.
viewers.
That's fine. No,
Um,
don't worry about that.
But our brains don't understand context or jokes. So if we repeat the same thing over to ourselves, if we repeat the same internal message or say the same things and stay in those cycles of hate or anger or resentment, all of those things, it our brain doesn't understand. It takes it as fact. It thinks we're
Hmm.
hateful, we're angry, we're all these things.
Yep.
I think forgiveness is an important part, like you said, for yourself to let go of those bonds of that person that is still tethered to you.
Mhm.
It's not to say I am approving of what you did, or I don't think that what you did was wrong. To me, none of that. It is simply for yourself to have peace of mind and to get
Of
those
course.
thoughts out of your head.
Yeah, and it's not forgetting either. It's not forgetting either. People also misconstrue like forgiveness and forgetting. Well, if I forgive him, then I need to forget. Absolutely not. I think that's foolish to think that way. You need to forget. Not that you should, but you just need to because it's good for you. And if it so happened to go along with your spiritual faith, even better. But you should do that for you, but that doesn't mean you forget, because if you forget, you might just fall into the exact same situation again and again and again. You should never forget, but you should always forgive. um so what do you think? So I know CSA and SA are more prevalent towards women, or girls. um at the beginning I talked about why I do this, to raise awareness, to kind of alert parents. What do you think from a By the way, are you a parent? Are you I know
I am.
are you Oh,
You might hear
perfect.
them yelling in the background. They also have ADHD, so
It's well, you might hear mine because I have kids too. So and I like that organic aspect of the channel. So I'm in my house, I'm in my office, and I'm having an interview, and my kids are here. So every once in a while, they would try to come in, and there are interviews that I've done. You see my hand doing this. It's just one of them just trying to come in. I'm trying to don't come, stay out.
yeah, yep.
I'm sorry, I told them many times, but uh, back to the interview. So what do you think parents should do? What do you think we should do? What else can we do more, like in addition to what we're doing right now, to help mitigate CSA or SA from happening to our kids?
I think really teaching our kids a strong sense of boundaries
Hmm.
for themselves, but also what is appropriate, what is okay. Teaching them to be confident to come to us, things like that. I think in my case, people ask me like, what could be different. I honestly don't know because I did have such a savior complex and like just wanted to be a good person and save everybody and make sure nobody got hurt. So, but really teaching those boundaries, really teaching how things progress. And I think a lot of times critical thinking, what is the next step? So if somebody does something that's uncomfortable, what is the next step? What do we do after that? Who are trusted adults? How do we use our voice in a way that makes sense so that people can take us seriously? But also, if kids say something, investigate, investigate. I'm not saying go on blind faith in every kid because, yes, I do want to say I understand the flip side of that, but every case should be investigated. Every case should be recorded, whether it's with an adult or child on child. There are people that are specialized to evaluate situations and give you resources. That is another thing. There's so many resources out there that people don't know about. And that's why we call and we get those resources from people.
Mm. I agree with everything you said. Yes. I think at the end of the day, I sadly I don't. It's not me trying to be pessimistic, but I don't think we'll ever be able to stop it completely, because those predators, they're parasites. They find a way somehow, but making the job a lot harder. Not just pretend that it doesn't exist because it's uncomfortable to talk about, is a way to help. I think that's the first step towards finding a solution. When you don't act like that kind of stuff is happening, but how, it's not that prevalent. It's not that bad of a problem. Every once in a while you hear it from, and a lot of times too, people feel like that kind of stuff happens like solely from dysfunctional families. They think it happens from, I don't know, poor family, which was my case, but it happens just about anywhere. And that's something people need to know. And sadly, it happens, I believe, I mean, the stats are anywhere from 75 to 80% will always be people that you already knew, whether it's a family friend, somebody from church, a parent, an uncle, like a like somebody that is already trusted in the circle. And I think it's only 7%, some stranger off the street just so happened to just, uh, commit any types of assault. But it's crazy. So people need to know. People need to know, even though we know it's not gonna, I mean, at least I don't think there's a way to completely combat that, but I think we can get very, very close to eradicate it simply by just, talking about it and for parents to be more mindful about it. So
I think
let's
that's a good point too,
go ahead.
talking about it, because it generationally too. If things have happened in the past, talk about those things. Don't keep them quiet, because part of my story, this was not the first time that my dad had engaged in this behavior. And there
Hmm.
were certain people that knew. None of my family knew, but there were some people who knew who didn't talk about it. And I think talking about things as uncomfortable as it is really important. Really talking about it. And another thing people ask me is like, what exactly do my kids know? My kids are 10 and 7, and my kids, I have had a conversation with them about, hey, you know how I talk to you about appropriate and inappropriate touch?
Hmm.
My dad, he went to prison for that type of situation. He was inappropriately touching children. I did not go into depth with them because based on their age, but I also want them to know people that they might be exposed to, which I keep my dad very far away from my children. But if there's ever a situation or their cousins are talking about him, things like that, I want them
Hmm.
to be aware.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very good. Just establishing that foundation with your kids, I think is very, very good. And that's something that I do now. I make sure that I play my role as a dad, the authority figure that I am in the family and for the family. But at the same time, I am that same authority figure that you can come and talk to just about anything. I make sure that I have like an open door policy where it doesn't matter what it is. Don't be ashamed. Don't be like, just come and talk to me. You can see me as a dad as well as a friend that you can come to. And I know it's not always easy for everybody. Like that situation can be very complex. I know for me, I simply had more of a father or mother relationship with my parents, which is why it was very hard sometimes to talk about some of the things that were happening with me. And I just didn't think I had that. I wasn't comfortable enough to do that. Uh, I wasn't, it felt a lot easier to just keep it to myself and let it keep happening as opposed to just like getting the help that I needed, whether it was shame, guilt, whatever. Like I just the easiest way, easy way out for me was to just keep it to myself, let it metastasize, and yeah. So talking about it, yes, I think we both agree that it's extremely important. That's something that needs to be pretty much first line of defense to just talk about it, to expose it, to raise awareness for it, which is what we're doing right now. And talking about it, uh, quick little plug for my book, which will be coming sometime soon. I don't know, but I talk about it. I talk about my experience, how I got over it, and the steps to take to get over it. And I think it's going to be a very helpful book to a lot of people going through it. Uh, in your line of work right now, do you find it easy to talk to abusers? I mean, victims when they come to
Uh,
you and try to get the help that they need?
In a lot of ways, yes. I try to never assume that I know somebody's situation just because I've gone through my own trauma. And I think part of the healing process is also taking the time to heal not just what happened. Everybody focuses on the exact trauma and they're like, you need to focus on this. But a very important part of healing any trauma is what were the messages you told yourself in order to make it through that? How did you realign what your vision of safety was in order to get through that, because a lot of times that's where we struggle with repeated like patterns of behavior that we don't like getting angry or shutting down, things like that. It's not necessarily just about the trauma. It's about the messages, the traumatic, the self-harming, damaging messages that we give ourselves so that we can get through what we're going through at that time.
Right. So basically, like a reevaluation, a realignment of your beliefs and how you were you living your life versus how you need to live your life in order to get over the trauma, correct?
Yeah, and getting out of that safety, because people think that once a trauma's over, then you're done. But a lot
Mhm,
of people get into that mode where they don't feel safe, and so they are in fight or flight, and they do not realize that they are living their life trying to accumulate all of the safety and control that they can, because
mhm.
that's what makes them feel centered again.
Yeah.
And it's because that's how they survived as a child, was
Mhm.
doing these specific patterns.
Yeah. It's so great talking to you about all this because, like as I've mentioned, I'm writing my book right now, and a great deal of research went into that, to go along with my experience. And a lot of things that you are talking about right now are already in the book. The stuff about healing, how to go about it, and it just makes me feel happy that those things that people are going to be reading, I think will definitely help them get over that hurdle that they might be facing right now. And I think it's great. So, do you ever talk to abusers?
I do not. That is the one client area that I stay out of. And it might be that maybe I still have part of my healing journey to complete, because it is not linear and we go forwards and we go backwards and we think
Hmm.
we're done and then something new pops up.
Triggers.
But yeah, but
Hmm.
for the entirety of my being a mental health therapist, I have not worked with abusers. And I
Okay.
feel like it's because I want to be aligned with their goals. As a therapist, that is my job. It is my
Hmm.
job to take away all of my emotion and help them reach their goals.
Hmm.
And I had one client that came in and they were trying to get their children back. And I realized right away, okay, I am going to struggle with aligning to help them reach their goals. So I need to not do this until I feel comfortable with it.
Hmm.
And so far, it's just I feel better for my mental health if I don't enter that realm, but who knows? Maybe one day that'll change too.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, how long have you been a therapist?
Oh man, I think I'm going on like 6 years now.
No, beautiful. Do you find especially somebody of your background, so you didn't just have a passion for it and have heard stories and testimonies, and you decided to go to school for it, but it's part of who you are. Do you find a great deal of fulfillment in being a therapist and helping people getting over the hurdles of trauma?
With trauma, especially, I think EMDR is great for trauma, but IFS, internal family systems, is something that I love doing with people because it unlocks themselves.
Hmm.
It unlocks pathways of healing that they didn't even think were possible, and just makes such a huge difference. And it is one of the most fulfilling and amazing feelings to help someone reduce a trigger or to get completely over a trigger and be okay with something that they never thought they'd be okay with, but also providing a safe space where people can go if they need to into whatever details that they have never gotten to share, to say what they've never gotten to say, whether it's screaming or yelling or crying or whatever it is. I get to be that place for them to use their voice when I didn't have a place as a child. And it is the best feeling in the whole world, aside
Sure it
from my
is.
kids and my
Yeah.
husband.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I'm sure it is. And I'm proud of you for doing that. You know, once you find a calling and for something so monumental as what you're doing, because a lot of times, and I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but sometimes people are focusing on instant gratification. I want to do this and I want to see the result today or tomorrow or the next day or at least by next month. But sometimes when you do something like what you're doing, there are a lot of um, careers or vocations out there where you plant the seed. You plant the seed, and you just know it's one of those seeds that will um, flourish, that will just grow, and that's what I'm hoping to do. By not just keeping my story to myself, reaching out to people like yourself, getting you on the podcast and sharing your story. We're planting seeds. We're letting people know that whatever happened, there's no way it's okay. It will never be okay. But you can use that to for something good. You can there's something in there that's of value that you can use to make a difference in the world. Speaking of making a difference, so what since you've been doing this for 6 years? So have you seen have you seen it plateaued as far as like the amount of, uh, I guess, clients that you have coming in, or have you seen an uptick of people just, I don't know, feeling more comfortable now talking about it, or have you noticed anything like that?
Um, so it depends on where the clients come from. Usually, I have a Psychology Today profile, and in my Psychology Today profile, I share that I have ADHD and that I have complex PTSD. And I think that that opens a door for people to want to reach out to me. So my primary clients are trauma clients and ADHDers. I get those pretty much all day, every day. And as far as like how many people that come to me with trauma, I think a lot of people come to me for other things and don't realize that they have trauma that they need to talk about.
Mm,
A lot
yeah,
of times people kind of use something else to get in the door and get comfortable, which is absolutely okay. But once they get comfortable, then they start to open up about these different traumas. And so I don't see it going down by any means. It's either kind of staying consistent or goes
yeah,
up depending on what's going on.
yeah. Well, again, I think what you're doing is fantastic, but not trying to take your job away, but I do hope one day it goes down because that's what you would want, I think. Just less of that stuff happening. More mentally stable kids. Let kids actually flourish and enjoy their childhood. Because I feel like for me, that's a part of me that was taken away, and I want my kids to have it, to not have to go through the same thing. And I wish the same thing for you. I really wish there was a way to go back and erase, everything that your dad did to you. But sadly, that's just not how the world works. That's not how life is. You can't go back and erase or redo, but you can do better moving forward, or you can do better in the present. Um, so what would you tell your speaking of not being able to go back, so what would you tell yourself, your 6-year-old self, your 8-year-old self, now if you could, like how to go about everything, if you could go back?
I am one of those people who does not believe in going back. I guess because if I go back and I change anything, then I don't have probably the two wonderful, beautiful, very frustrating children that I have today. And I love them with all my heart. But
I hear you.
I think I would probably hold that little girl's hand or give her a hug, and I would tell her that she makes it through it and she finds a way to impact people on a level that she never thought possible, and that she's going to use all of those experiences that she should have never had to go through to help people in their journey and heal their souls.
Yeah. You know why I asked you that question? Obviously, I know, just like I talked about not being able to go back because that's just not how life is. But sometimes you have some people listening, um, and they're listening while they're going through certain things or they're fresh out of it. And they're just thinking back, what have I done wrong? What could I have done differently so that I'm not where I am right now? It's hard in the moment to think about how I'm going to use this horrible situation to help somebody else or to help the world or to how can I use this horrible thing for good, right? So that question goes to the people right now who are going through it or who are about to go to it through it to understand that if you can avoid it, obviously I don't think anybody's purposely trying to go through trauma. If you can avoid it, I think that's always the key. But when you go through it, don't let it become you. Don't let it be your identity and use it for good. Um, because I think that's one thing that people do a lot, and that victimhood mentality. It's something that I absolutely detest. When you go through something, like nobody's gonna deny it. You've been through it, but don't make it your identity. Don't make it, you know what? This is who I am now. I'm this victim guy. Like everybody now, I'm just going to look at you through this victim lens. I'm going to look at you as somebody who could do the same thing to me. I'm going to keep you at arm's length. You don't realize how much of your life you're not living when you do that because the victimhood mentality is like a cancer. It's there, but you don't even know it's there until one day it's too late. Somebody points it out, or you start getting pushback. Then you getting all defensive. Oh, don't you know I went through that? He actually did it to me, and he never apologized. Like nobody's denying that, but living in that state of mind is terrible. Have you dealt with that with the clients that you've had when it comes to that mentality, that victimhood mentality?
Yes, and I think that that kind of comes back to safety. And
Hmm.
when, as professionals, therapists, when we look at trauma, a lot of our questions and a lot of our focus is going to be around how people feel safe. I want to tell you why I think why I am the way that I am. So
Sure.
after everything came out, I got in trouble with my mom. I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing. I knew I shouldn't have been doing, did it anyways. I tried to use my trauma as kind of like an excuse one time with my mother. And my mother looked at me and she said, "What happened to you was not your choice. That is something that you went through. You do not get to use that as an excuse since you lost your childhood to lose or mess up the rest of your life. I will not let you do that. And I have to be that bad guy for you because you have lost your dad, and I am not going to take away your mother too."
Mm,
And I think for me, that kind of shifted what it was for me because she was absolutely right. That was
that's
something that was not
powerful.
my choice.
That's powerful right there. And that's exactly my point. By carrying. That's exactly my point. Hmm.
Yeah. It made a huge difference on how I viewed my trauma moving forward and what choices I made. Not
Yeah.
always the best, but that's okay.
Well, that's the thing. We're not perfect. We're never
Yep.
going to be perfect, but we should always strive to be better, right? But you cannot be striving to be better while still holding on to this cloak of victimhood mentality. It's just impossible. You cannot have both. You cannot want to be better, leave blaming people behind, pointing fingers, while still trying to be like, hey, look at me, everybody. I'm also a victim, and that's who I am. It's like, you know, it doesn't happen that way. I don't think you're gonna find any success living your life that way. Uh,
Yeah.
and I understand it's hard for a lot of people to hear, especially again those people who are going through it, who are fresh out of it, and just feeling this anger, this resentment. I get it. I'm just telling you, grieve, take your time, but the other side of that is not you staying in that, you know, grieving type of space. It looks like you forgiving, you taking steps towards healing, you just moving forward and change the trajectory of your life. And I don't think that kind of stuff happens by accident, or it's like it requires work, sadly. Doesn't matter how you look at it. It's something that was done to you. You you're not the perpetrator. You're not the reason why it happened. You didn't have any say in it. Like, I get it. I get all that. But it still doesn't change. If you want to get to a better place, there's going to have to, you're going to have to put in the work as the victim. So it's a sad thing,
You,
but
and you want to preserve your life. you know?
Mhm.
So what happened to me, it's awful, it's terrible, and I could go on for weeks and months and
Oh,
days
yeah.
of
I
all
know.
these different things,
Oh, yeah.
but I want my life to be a certain way, which means I have to deal with my trauma. And I also, it came up as a big issue when I had kids. Once they started having voices of their own and wanting to do things that emotionally and physically made me feel triggered because I was concerned about safety, I realized, okay, I can't keep staying here with this trauma. I have to work
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah. You know what else I was thinking about? Like, as you were saying that, that was going to be my next point. While you are taking your time to get to a better place, sometimes you might have to do it a little bit quicker because you have other things riding on that. It's not just you anymore. Now you're about to raise kids, and you don't want the same energy, the same upbringing that you've had, whether it's by you just kind of exuding that without even realizing it. Like you need a better environment, a better, like more uplifting energy. So sometimes you gotta have to work a little bit faster and
Yeah.
don't kind of. Hey, listen, I'm gonna take my time to get over this. I'm just gonna get comfortable. It wasn't my fault, so let me relax a little bit. Sometimes you just don't have the opportunity to relax, and yeah. So I think that was very, very, very important too.
Yeah. Kids are a little bit demanding. They want things
Yes,
now,
they
and
are.
that
Yes, they are.
and I would recommend to anybody who's gone through trauma, if you haven't had kids yet, it is 1,000 times easier to work on your trauma before you have kids than to get triggered by them. And I'm saying that from my own personal experience. It's really hard once you have kids, and it's
It
not
is.
something that you can 100% focus on and shut everything else out. So if you can, try IFS, EMDR, do something that helps you so that you're not affected by it every minute of every day anymore.
I couldn't said it any better. And I think it's always easier to fix one problem at a time. Not that I'm calling kids problems, but if you are a parent, you understand kids deserve and require a lot, not just financially, emotionally, spiritually. Like they just require a lot. That's just what it takes to be a parent. And you need to give them that. There's no shortcuts. There's no, hey, look at me. I need this for, no. It's not about you. It's not about anything else but them. So you get it. So again, to piggyback off of that or to add more to it, whenever you start having kids, if you're gonna think about having kids, certain things you might want to fix first. Get the healing that you need first before you jump into that. Uh, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate, you know, you taking the time and talking to me and helping me raise awareness for CSA victims, SA victims. And you mentioned a few administrations or places that people can go to get the help that they need. Do you mind pointing those out again? And I can also probably have them, listed on here as you talking. So, what are some places that people can go and get help, healing, or whatever?
Yeah, and I can send you some resources too and some links afterwards.
Sure.
But even I know that there are issues with Child Protective Services, or in Arizona they call them DCS. But you can call and you can ask for help on anything. It doesn't have to just be making a report. You can call them. They will help you with gathering resources. They will help you with if reports have been made, what steps you can take. There's so many resources that they're willing to give out. And then literally doing searches of CSA support groups in your area.
Hmm.
Facebook has a lot of groups. Be discerning with your help. You know, if you feel like something's not right or something's not going good for you, keep pivoting. But therapists again that specialize in EMDR, IFS, community mental health centers in your area. They can also get you access to local resources, local groups. Um, DCS and Child Protective Services also have resources for parents. Like, how do we handle this now? How do we find, if something does come up, how do we find a therapist that can work with our child that specializes in this? There's so many different
Mhm.
places and things that you can get. If you have your own therapist, ask them for local resources too.
Okay. That's good. That's really good. And that's exactly why I also wanted to have you on. You don't just have a story, but you understand what that road looks like to get the help that you need for your trauma and to help those people. So I think it's absolutely beautiful. I know you're also on TikTok. So can people
Yeah.
where can people find you? Because I know you have stuff on TikTok.
Yeah. It's at Whisper Marie, and I do put things about my trauma on there, about complex PTSD, and parenting stuff, all sorts of stuff on there. So you can absolutely check it out. And if there are other people out there that are talking about the same things, having these conversations, and you want to follow me, please reach out. I would love to follow you back and support you. I share a lot of videos. There's a lot of people out there that are doing advocacy work, and I love sharing that. I love getting it out there and reposting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The whole point is to get the word out, right? Just talk about
Yeah.
it, raise awareness, and all of it. Thank
And
you,
ask
Whisper Marie.
questions.
Yes, yes,
People,
absolutely,
reach
absolutely.
out if you,
You know, there are a lot more people who are willing to help than sometimes we realize. Again, the shame, the guilt, whatever your excuse is, will keep you from getting the help that you need, from asking questions to get to a better place. But I guarantee you, there are a lot more people out there who are eager to help. Um, but you just need to make the first step. Call, ask questions, reach out to people, and you'll find things are a little bit different when you step out of your comfort zone. So, any last words?
I wish everybody a happy and healing journey. Again, if you have any questions, if you need access to resources, I will either help you or point you in the right direction. But I just really appreciate you opening this conversation and being able to do this advocacy work. And I also want to say, once your book comes out, please, please, please send me a link so I can buy it and support you and
I
share.
will. I
I have
appreciate it.
lots of patience.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Hey, thank you for watching. And as always, if you get value out of this video, please share it. You can subscribe as well if you'd like it. But what I would really appreciate is sharing it. Share it with somebody you think need to hear this, or somebody that knows somebody else that just share it. You know, I don't want this to just stay with us. The reason why we're speaking out there in the realm of YouTube, the internet, it's because we want people to hear this. Too many bad people out there, and they're going on and on, committing crimes and just stealing kids and like vulnerable kids' childhood, sometimes even future. We got to put a stop to it, or at least help mitigate it, reduce it. It's by you sharing it. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Peace. Bye bye.
Hey, yeah, you. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like, subscribe, and share it. Help me spread the word.